My husband and his mother planned a secret vasectomy before our baby was even born, then let me try for years to get pregnant while knowing it was impossible. I never thought I would be sharing something so personal on Reddit, but I need advice and perspective on my situation. My whole world has turned upside down in the past few weeks, and I'm struggling to make sense of everything. Let me start from the beginning. I met David, 34, 8 years ago at my college friend's wedding. I was a bridesmaid, and he was the groom's colleague. We clicked instantly, both of us shared similar values, came from close-knit families, and wanted the same things in life. After dating for 2 years, filled with wonderful memories and deepening love, we got married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our families. Family was always important to both of us. I grew up with 3 siblings, and some of my best childhood memories involve our chaotic family dinners and holiday celebrations. David comes from an even bigger family with 4 siblings. During our courtship and early marriage, we often talked about having a big family. We both agreed that we wanted at least 3 children. We even bought a 4-bedroom house in a good school district, planning for our future family. 3 years into our marriage, I got pregnant with our daughter Lucy. The pregnancy was smooth, and those 9 months were magical. David was incredibly supportive. He went to every doctor's appointment, helped me through morning sickness, and even learned to cook when certain food smells made me nauseous. Lucy's birth was one of the happiest moments of our lives. David cried when he held her for the first time, and watching him become a father made me fall in love with him all over again. David took 3 months of paternity leave to help with Lucy. He was an amazing father from day one. He handled night feedings, changed diapers without complaining, and was totally involved in Lucy's care. Our families were thrilled, especially David's mother Linda, 65, who visited often to help with the baby. When Lucy turned 1, I brought up the topic of having another baby. David seemed hesitant and said we should wait until Lucy was older. His reasoning made sense. Having 2 under 2 would be challenging, and he wanted to give Lucy his full attention. I understood and agreed to wait. But every time I brought up the topic of another baby over the next 2 years, David would find some reason to postpone it. First, it was about waiting until Lucy started preschool. Then it was about saving more money for a bigger college fund. Then about waiting until he got a promotion at his accounting firm. The excuses kept changing, but they always sounded reasonable enough that I didn't push too hard. Last month, Lucy turned 3, and I decided it was time to have a serious conversation about expanding our family. Our finances were stable, Lucy was in preschool, and David had gotten his promotion. It felt like the perfect time. I sat David down after Lucy went to bed and told him I was ready for another baby. His reaction wasn't what I expected. He got quiet, avoided eye contact, and then said maybe we should be content with just Lucy. I was shocked. This wasn't what we had planned. When I reminded him about our agreement to have 3 children, he got defensive and said plans change. He talked about how expensive childcare was, how having more kids would mean less time for Lucy, and how we were managing perfectly with 1 child. Something about his arguments felt rehearsed, like he had been preparing for this conversation. That's when I started noticing things I had overlooked before. David never seemed worried about protection during intimacy. In the past 2 years, there had been many times when we weren't careful, and I had hoped each time would lead to a pregnancy. I had even started tracking my cycle and taking fertility vitamins, wondering if there was something wrong with me. A horrible thought crossed my mind. I did something I'm not proud of. I went through his email while he was at work. I had never done this before, but my gut feeling was too strong to ignore. And there it was, emails from a urologist's office from 3 years ago, just after Lucy was born. The subject lines were vague, but as I opened them, my world crumbled. My hands were shaking as I read through the emails. David had gotten a vasectomy without telling me. For 3 years, he had let me believe we were trying for another baby while knowing it was impossible. I felt sick to my stomach. All those negative pregnancy tests, all those hopeful moments turned to disappointment, all while he knew it could never happen. I confronted David when he came home. At first, he tried to deny it, but when I showed him the emails, he broke down. He admitted to getting the vasectomy but claimed he did it because he thought 1 child was enough. He said he was afraid to tell me because he knew how much I wanted more children. He tried to hug me, to explain himself, but I couldn't bear his touch. I've been staying at my sister's house for the past week. I can't even look at David right now. He's been calling and texting constantly, begging me to come home so we can talk things through. But how do you talk through something like this? How do you forgive someone who took away your choice to have more children? Who lied to you for years while watching you struggle with supposed fertility issues? My sister thinks I should divorce him immediately. She says this level of deception is unforgivable. My parents are more cautious, telling me to think about Lucy and try to work things out. They're worried about her growing up in a broken home. But isn't it already broken? How can I trust anything David says or does after this? I keep thinking about all those times I cried because I thought something was wrong with me when we didn't conceive. All those pregnancy tests I took, hoping each time would be positive. The fertility vitamins I started taking, the ovulation tracking apps I downloaded. Meanwhile, David knew it was impossible but let me go through all that emotional turmoil. Edit, I need your advice. Am I overreacting? Should I try to forgive him and save our marriage for Lucy's sake? Or is this betrayal too big to overcome? How do I even begin to process this level of deception from the person I trusted most in the world? Update 1, since my last post, things have taken an unexpected and disturbing turn. After reading your comments and spending time reflecting on the situation, I decided to confront David face to face. I needed real answers, not just about the vasectomy, but about what changed his mind about having a bigger family. I texted David that I was coming over to talk. When I arrived at our house, I found not just David but also his mother Linda, 65F, there. Looking back, I should have known she would be involved. Linda has always been controlling of David's life. When we were dating, she used to show up unannounced at our dates. When we got married, she tried to plan our entire wedding. When Lucy was born, she practically moved in for 2 months, claiming I needed her help. What happened next completely blindsided me. Before I could even start the conversation with David, Linda took charge. She started defending David's decision to get a vasectomy, saying she had advised him to do it because one perfect grandchild was enough. Then came the shocking revelation: she had taken David to her friend, a urologist, even before Lucy was born. I stood there, trying to process what I was hearing. Linda kept talking, her voice filled with self-righteousness. She went on about how having multiple children ruins marriages, how she had seen it happen to her friends. She talked about expensive childcare, college funds, and how one child would give us a better lifestyle. She even mentioned her friend whose marriage fell apart after having their 3rd child. All this time, I thought David had made this decision on his own after Lucy was born. But no, his mother had been manipulating the situation from the very beginning. David just sat there on our couch, head down, as his mother spoke. When I asked him if this was true, if he had really planned the vasectomy even before our daughter was born, he nodded. The truth came pouring out. David admitted that his mother had started talking to him about getting a vasectomy when I was just 3 months pregnant. She had scheduled a consultation with her urologist friend when I was 7 months along. They had planned everything meticulously, waiting until after Lucy's birth to avoid any stress-related complications with my pregnancy. The more they talked, the more I realized how deep this deception went. Linda had helped David hide his recovery by inviting him to stay at her house for a few days after the procedure. She had told me they were going on a father-son fishing trip, something they had never done before or since. She had even helped him come up with excuses whenever I brought up having more children. My mind went into overdrive, remembering all the family gatherings where Linda would make comments about how peaceful life was with just one child. How parents with multiple children always looked stressed and tired. How single children were more successful because their parents could focus all their resources on them. I had thought these were just casual observations, but now I saw them for what they were: subtle manipulations to support their lie. I lost it. The anger I had been holding back erupted. I told Linda she had no right to interfere in our marriage like this, to make decisions about my family without my knowledge. That's when David finally spoke up, not to defend me or our marriage, but to defend his mother. He said she had only wanted what was best for us, that she had helped him see that having multiple children would strain our marriage and finances. The betrayal cut even deeper. My husband wasn't just hiding something from me, he was actively conspiring with his mother to control our family's future. As I was leaving, Linda had the audacity to tell me I was being ungrateful and dramatic. She said plenty of women would be happy with one child and a comfortable life. David just sat there, silent again, not standing up for me or our marriage vows. I've blocked both David and Linda's numbers. My sister has been my rock through all this. She helped me find a good divorce lawyer, who said I have a strong case based on fraud and deception. The lawyer also mentioned that David's premeditated planning of the vasectomy, even before our child was born, shows a level of deception that could work in my favor during divorce proceedings. Lucy keeps asking for her dad. She's too young to understand what's happening, but she knows something is wrong. My sister has been helping me explain things to her in an age-appropriate way. David has been sending messages through mutual friends, claiming he'll do anything to fix this. He offered to try surgical reversal of the vasectomy, but how can that fix the years of lies and his mother's manipulation? I feel like my whole marriage was built on deception. The 2 people I trusted most, my husband and mother-in-law, had been conspiring behind my back even before my daughter was born. The level of calculation involved is what scares me the most. How do you trust again after something like this? My lawyer advised me to document everything and prepare for what might be a difficult divorce. We have our first official meeting next week to discuss custody arrangements and next steps. I'll update when I know more. Update 2, the situation has deteriorated even further. Following my lawyer's advice, we requested David's complete medical records through legal channels. What we discovered was far worse than I imagined. The medical records showed consultations for the vasectomy started 2 months before Lucy was conceived. There were detailed notes from multiple appointments where David discussed his family planning strategy with the urologist. He specifically talked about having one child to keep his wife happy before getting the procedure done. The doctor had documented advising them to wait until after the baby's birth to avoid any pregnancy complications from stress if I found out. Reading through these records felt like being punched in the stomach repeatedly. Every page revealed new layers of deception. Linda had attended every single consultation. She had even paid for the procedure in advance to avoid any paper trail in their joint accounts that I might discover. The records contained notes about their strategy to keep everything hidden from me, including how to handle post-operative care without raising suspicions. But the most devastating discovery was about the reversibility of the procedure. David had specifically asked the doctor about vasectomy reversal success rates. He wanted to know if he could get it reversed if his wife became too difficult to handle. The doctor had documented explaining the risks and costs of reversal procedures. This meant David had literally planned an escape route before even going through with his deception. When confronted with these records, David finally broke down and told me everything. He admitted that he never wanted more than one child. The revelation hit hard. He had lied even before we got married. He had agreed to having 3 children only because he was afraid I wouldn't marry him otherwise. He and his mother had planned this elaborate deception together, believing that once we had Lucy, I would eventually settle down and accept having just one child. Then came another shock. Our friends, Tom and Sarah, had known about the vasectomy all along. They had helped cover for David when he went for the procedure, telling me he was at a work conference. These were the same people who had sat with me countless times, listened to me cry about not being able to conceive, and said nothing. When I confronted Sarah, she tried to defend herself, saying it wasn't her place to tell me. She even suggested I should be grateful for having one healthy child. My lawyer says this level of premeditated deception strengthens our case significantly. We're now pushing for full custody of Lucy with supervised visitation for David. His deliberate deception shows a concerning pattern of behavior that makes me worry about his influence on Lucy as she grows up. David's response to all this exposure? He's trying to paint me as the unreasonable one. He's telling everyone that I'm trying to take his daughter away just because he didn't want more children. Linda has joined in, spreading stories about how I'm mentally unstable and obsessed with having babies. She's even contacted my workplace, trying to suggest that I'm emotionally unstable. I've started documenting everything, every text, every email, every interaction. My lawyer says we need to be prepared for a lengthy court battle, especially given Linda's interference. We're considering filing for a restraining order against Linda if she continues her campaign of harassment. The hardest part is seeing Lucy caught in the middle of all this. She's too young to understand what's happening, but she knows something is wrong. She misses her dad, but I can't trust him with her right now. Not when he's shown he can lie so easily for so long. She cried yesterday when David missed their scheduled video call. He was apparently too busy meeting with his lawyer to call his daughter. Our first court hearing is next week. My lawyer is confident about our case, especially with the medical records showing the extent of the deception. David's lawyer has reached out about settling out of court, but I'm not interested in any settlements that don't address the full scope of his deception. Update 3, the divorce is finally over. After everything came out in court, things moved faster than expected. The judge was particularly disturbed by the level of premeditation in David's actions and how his mother orchestrated the whole thing. David's behavior during the proceedings only made things worse for him. He tried to minimize everything, telling the judge I was overreacting to a simple medical procedure. When his lawyer saw the complete medical records showing the months of planning before Lucy was even conceived, even he looked uncomfortable defending David's actions. The court granted me primary custody of Lucy. David gets supervised visitation twice a month at a court-approved facility. Linda is explicitly banned from being present during these visits. The judge specifically cited how her involvement in the deception and her continued attempts to manipulate the situation raised serious concerns about her influence on Lucy. David's final manipulation attempt spectacularly backfired. During the last hearing, he offered to get the vasectomy reversed if I would withdraw the divorce petition. The judge saw right through this, noting in her final judgment that this offer only demonstrated his pattern of using medical procedures as manipulation tactics. This wasn't about having more children anymore, it was about the years of lies and calculated deception. The divorce settlement was more than fair. We sold our house and split the proceeds. David has to pay child support based on his full income as a senior accountant. We have a detailed custody agreement that protects Lucy's interests and limits Linda's access to her. Our mutual friends who knew about the vasectomy, Tom, Sarah, and a few others, tried to apologize. They sent long messages about how they were caught in the middle and didn't know what to do. I blocked them all. They watched me struggle for 3 years, thinking something was wrong with me, and said nothing. That kind of betrayal doesn't deserve forgiveness. Linda still tries to contact me through different phone numbers and email addresses. She sends long messages about how I'm depriving Lucy of a normal family life and how I'm being selfish. I've documented everything for my lawyer in case we need to get a restraining order. Her latest attempt was trying to join Lucy's preschool's parent committee to have access to her. Nothing is perfect now, but it's better. Lucy has difficult days when she misses her dad. She doesn't understand why she can only see him at the special place, the visitation center, or why Grandma Linda can't come to her birthday party. But I found a good child therapist who's helping her process everything in age-appropriate ways. I've moved to a new house closer to my sister. Lucy is settling well into her new preschool, and I've started a new job that offers better work-life balance. My sister has been incredible through all this, helping with Lucy and being there when I need to break down. Some people, especially older relatives, ask if I regret not trying to work things out for Lucy's sake. I don't. My daughter deserves to grow up seeing what honesty and respect look like. Staying with someone who could lie to me for years, who could watch me suffer and say nothing, would teach her all the wrong lessons about relationships and self-respect. David still sends messages through his lawyer about wanting to fix things. He recently asked about going to family therapy together. But some things, once broken by betrayal this deep, can't be fixed. I'm focusing on building a new life for Lucy and me. The dream of having more children isn't gone, but right now, my priority is raising my daughter in a home built on truth and trust.